Here, we'll get going. So with that, I'm going to call to order the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners Emerging Technologies Committee meeting for Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. And with that, I will ask Chairman Rogers to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll ask the department to take the roll.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioner Caviglia.
Here.
Commissioner Bourne.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers.
Here.
And Commissioner Young.
Here. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll go to agenda item number 2, public comment period. Persons wishing to speak are requested to sign in. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the committee at this time. However, the committee may consider items brought up to be scheduled on a future committee agenda. So any public comment? I don't see anyone's hands up. So with that, we'll close agenda item number 2. We'll go to agenda item number 3, approval of the agenda. For possible action, the committee will review the agenda and may take action to approve the agenda. The committee may remove items from the agenda, continue items for consideration, or take items out of order. So any questions or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll take it out for public comment. Any public comment on the agenda? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee.
I can make a motion to approve agenda item number 3, approval of the agenda.
I am second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Vice Chair Young, second by Chairman Rogers. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, agenda item number 4, approval of minutes. For possible action, minutes from the June 9th, 2025 meeting may be approved. So any questions or comments regarding the last meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none from the committee. Any public comment on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee.
I can make a motion to approve agenda item number 4, approval of the amendments.
And second.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Young, second by Chairman Rogers. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right, agenda item number 5, member items, announcements, and correspondence informational. Commissioners may present emergent items. No action may be taken by the committee. Any item requiring committee action may be scheduled on a future committee agenda. The committee will review and may discuss correspondence sent or received by the committee and may provide copies for the exhibit file. Commissioners may provide hard copies of their correspondence for the written record. Correspondence sent or received by the department may also be discussed. So any member items, announcements, or correspondence from the committee? Okay, seeing none, anything from the department? Doesn't look like any. All right. I just noticed we're missing agenda item number 6, so we'll go to agenda item number 7. Thermal imaging, Chief Game Warden Christy Knight for possible action. A presentation for continued committee review of the complete prohibitions for the use or possession of thermal equipment from August 1st through December 4th in areas 11, 22, 23, and 24.
Good evening, Chief Game Warden Christy Knight. For the record, I do have a presentation to share, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. So tonight we'll be talking about thermal imaging devices. The first thing that we'll go over is the amended language for possible amendment. And then we do have a short video or parts of the video I'd like to share on a guy that did use a drone because he was unsuccessful in his elk hunt. And then I'm going to pass it over to Captain Jake Kramer because there is an Oregon case from 23 that we would like to share with you on thermal imaging. So from our last meeting, we were requested to draft language that closed the use of thermals for any type of use from August 1st to December 4th in the management areas 11, 22, 23, and 24. And that is the units as defined in NAC 504-210. And then we did add language in there in Part B to also make sure that everybody knew that you couldn't use it for game mammals or game birds in any management area as defined in NAC 504-210. And then on the next one, and I do notice that I have 2 NACs written in there. And then in the next one, we didn't make any changes in it. It was the provisions of subsection 1 do not limit the use of sites attached to a firearm bow or post bow that do not fit the language listed above. And then we did add in a section that allows for the use for an employee or authorized agent of the state, an employee or authorized agent of a municipal or county government of the state, or an employee or authorized agent of the federal government. So the biggest change from last go is at any time during the period beginning August 1st and ending December 4th for hunting or taking any wildlife in management areas 11, 22, 23, and 24 as defined in NAC 504-210. With that, I would like to go ahead and show a video as to why thermal imaging has taken off and the implications that can possibly come from that. Then after that, I'll pass it on to Captain Jake Kramer for that case out of Oregon. Now, we are only going to watch certain sections of this, so I do have to pass forward through it. But I felt that it was beneficial to actually show this video. And this is a, okay, next stop. Can you see this or no?
The government is banning this $39
Is this video showing or no? I can't see you guys, so okay. Is the video showing or no? It is, okay.
electric lighter next month. And this is your last shot to get the original high-powered version. There's a new next-gen electric lighter.
Over the past week, I've been researching elk movement with a thermal drone. This isn't something I've ever seen documented before. Trust me, I've looked everywhere. My buddies keep asking me, why are you taking days?
So let me give you some pretext to this. The reason this guy did a drone thermal imaging of an area is because he was unsuccessful in his elk hunt. He was new to elk hunting and he thought he knew where he was going. And because he didn't, he decided to take a thermal drone out and check for the areas and figure out their patterns, where they're going. Are they on public land, private land? And so he did a 13-minute video on this. He can be a little bit annoying. I'll give you a pre-warning on that. But he has some why we need thermal language, or to emphasize why we need more thermal.
The Matrice 4T that would become my window into the secret life of the elk. I know what you're thinking, drones and hunting, that's cheap, but hold on. I'm not using this to hunt. I'm using this for research to understand the patterns that might make me a smarter hunter when I'm back on the ground with my bow. The beauty of the thermal imaging is that it reveals what our eyes can't see. And while GPS collar studies follow individual animals across vast territories, like watching a single actor in a massive play, thermal drones let you see the entire task in real time. You can watch bedding density, see how elk use edge habitats, observe their reaction to the weather changes, how they handle thermals, figure out where they actually spend their time or where they don't spend their time. I spent my Matrice 4T in several batteries, allowing for nearly constant flight time. I set out on what would become days on days of methodical searching. I'm talking hours and hours of flight time, covering terrain that would take weeks to scout on foot. And here's the thing, it's not like the mountains were empty of life. I spotted a great mule deer buck moving through these The timber, you can see how perfectly the animals pop on the thermal screens when the conditions were right. I had overcast skies and animals were right up here at least. I found several moons. I didn't hear some water, but elk, nothing. I kept flying the methodical grid, legitimate coverage of massive terrain. I finally saw something that made my heart skip a beat. There was a lone cow elk standing in the timber, making its way through. I finally found something real. There actually are elk on this property. It is on public, not on private. About time. This is it. But the questions started flooding in. Now, where are the rest of them? This is a lone cow elk. Where are the big guys? There can't just be one cow elk running around here. It's about a half a mile away from that lone cow at a slightly higher elevation. I spotted something that got my pulse racing. A lone bull with a few cows. This was awesome. Absolutely great to find. The grid searching is working. I thought there really are elk here. This group looked settled, comfortable, and not spooked or pressured. They were just living their best elk lives. By the end of my research, I found a third group of younger bulls and cows and even witnessed some sparring action that looked like they were auditioning for a nature documentary.
So I just wanted to show a little bit of that video, just to show the reasons people do utilize this. And as he said, he can cover an area in a matter of minutes rather than hours that it may have taken. So again, he did this as research because he was unsuccessful in his hunt as a new hunter. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Captain Jake Kramer to go over the Oregon case. And then when we're done with this, we will be open for any questions.
Hey, can you guys all see my screen right now with the PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right, I did it right this time. Okay, so what I wanted to cover with you guys is there's the question, right? Well, how often are these getting used, and what are they capable of? But really, who's using them and to what degree, right? That seems to be the burning question. So we were approached this year by OSP, Special Investigations Unit. That's Oregon State Police Wildlife Troopers, Special Investigations, presenting us with a case study, or not case study, but a case that they did in the last part of 2023. Very, very interesting, just very eye-opening. So in October 23, Oregon Wildlife Troopers conducted an operation on a 55,000 acre tract of land. I'm breaking it down a little bit. That sounds like a lot, but at the end of the day, it's only 9 miles by 9 miles. So in Nevada standards, not very big. They were targeting unlawful use and possession of thermal imaging equipment for use in hunting big game animals. The tract of land was a tree farm that gave 350 access permits to hunters. So it was basically a closed area. They allowed 350 people to come into it with permission and keys. Wildlife troopers utilized various methods of surveillance and equipment to observe and record and document unlawful use of thermal equipment over a period of only 10 days during the archery season. So also not during the main season. And also Oregon does have laws that already prohibit possession and use of thermal imaging equipment for purpose of big game hunting or locating big game. This is what the area looked like. So you could kind of say that looks a lot like Nevada after they cut the trees down. So it's kind of similar, but this is what they were hunting or where they were hunting. So the case summary overall was, again, 10 days, 350 people. They issued 47 criminal citations stemming from thermal use, etc. 32 charges were referred to the district attorney's office. Here's the crazy part. 21 thermal imaging devices were seized as evidence in that operation. 5 deer were seized as evidence, 2 rifles, and there were 50 subjects involved. I did some math on that. It's over a 14% violation rate just in the thermal use in that one small area in an archery season. So are they being used? Absolutely, they're being used, and they're being used in Nevada as well. So during their, I guess, debrief with some of the people that they were citing, here's some of the quotes that the suspects were actually saying. So they all call them Mr. Honest Thermal users. One of them said, it's especially helpful when looking for animals in the brush. That's kind of obvious. The other one would said, you would not have found the deer. Well, perfect statement right there. Another guy says, the thermal makes it possible to hunt faster and cover more ground. He also said he can hunt the entire tree farm in a matter of hours. And then he sees about 100 deer using the thermals on average a day. And without the thermals, he would guess he would see maybe 20. So massive difference, 5 times the amount. And then at one point, another one said, I'm not looking for a little buck. I'm looking for a bigger buck. I don't want to shoot a little buck. I had opportunities without the thermal to do that. So they're banking on the fact that this is going to find them the animals that they're looking for, or to select, if you will. So just some potential implications. Thermals are not a night vision tool. And what OSP, or Oregon State Police, found as well is that these are all being used during the daylight hours. It's not being used at night. It's because it's not night vision. It's thermal equipment. So it sees just fine in the daylight, just sees as fine in the nighttime. So it doesn't really matter when you're using it. But when people are hunting during daylight hours, they're being used to basically select the animals that they want. Thermals are a means of gathering information. More complete information results in more of a selection of big game versus traditional of hunting big game. A person can scan a drainage and see almost all animals and people, or their competition, by the way, within minutes versus hours of glassing. It may reduce the quality and availability of big game due to increased pressure and harvest of higher age class animals. That's what the purpose of most of these are being used for, is to target primarily older age class trophy type animals and see where they're at. It will increase harvest percentages overall, and based on tag allocation models, it may potentially lead to a reduction in big game tags due to increase in successful harvest rates. So that's what I wanted to show you. Just food for thought, I suppose. I'll pass it back to the chief.
So with that, our presentation is complete and we are available for any questions.
All right. Thank you, Christine, Jake. And I mean, that video kind of shows what I've been saying the whole time. This isn't just a nighttime deal. This is day and night. That video shows it clear as a bell. So I appreciate that. So any questions for Christy or Jake, or any discussion on the proposed language? Everybody knows where I'm at. I'm not going to regurgitate any of that. So, all right, I don't see any. So with that, I'll take it out for public comment. Any public comment in relation to the thermal imaging language? Go ahead, Neil.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, yeah. The couple things. Well, my name's Neil Cheney. I'm the president of the Nevada Trappers Association. The couple issues I have with this, I don't disagree with anything that that officers Knight and oh gosh, I can't think, Kramer said on their things, but everything they said is already a law that covers that. I 100% agree that it is violating fair chase to hunt big game with thermals. But again, there's already a law against that due to a number of things, staffing and the lack of being able to use overtime, I think is deterring wardens from being able to do their job and enforce that law. So I don't understand the point of adding more laws that will detriment other hunters with no intentions of breaking any laws from being able to spend time out in the hills doing what they like to do. The other point I wanted to make, sorry, I've been just got off of work. The other point I wanted to make was, oh, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. Anyways, I made my main point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Neil. All right, Lou.
Yeah, hi, this is Lou with Nevada Predator Hunting Association. Basically, I ditto the same thing that Neil just said. There's already laws against this. It's illegal to use drones. It's illegal to do all of this. Throwing more laws on something, I just don't know how that's going to stop the person that's going to break the law. There's no excuse for not knowing that you can't use that stuff. You shouldn't be using it. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for letting me comment.
Thank you, Lou. George?
Hi, George Forbes for the record. I'll be representing the Nevada Predator Hunting Association, the Coalition for Nevada Wildlife. We are still firmly against this proposal and feel no further action should take place because three things have happened that were not present when these discussions about a thermal ban started. First, the law enforcement division now is fully staffed, and we should allow them the time to actually enforce the current law. Their presence alone is as a deterrent factor for all possible violations that may have gone unnoticed during their staffing shortage. No matter what law is in place, we need law enforcement in the field to enforce the current thermal regulation and other regulations. Second, the wardens now have their own thermal equipment, which levels the playing field when it comes to observing possible violations during the nighttime hours. And third, we just passed a 12-point demerit penalty to anyone who gets convicted of violating the current law. We believe you are actually in a much better position to enforce the current law now than you were just 1 year ago. With that being said, it is our request to use what is currently available to address this issue before we start creating other regulations that will bring negative consequences. Some of the negative consequences to this will be a higher population of predators that will be around to remove the game animals we are trying to protect. This could lead to an increased spending for wildlife services in those areas, which is already a sensitive subject because we are talking about the same areas where wildlife services spent $59,000 to kill 16 coyotes back in 2024. There is a responsibility to spend these funds wisely and effectively, and in my personal opinion, you are opening yourself up to criticism if you have to use wildlife services to do more predator control in those areas at potentially higher cost. My biggest concern is this regulation going down the road does not complement the existing regulations on the license requirements for hunting unprotected species. There is no license requirement for shooting jackrabbits or badgers at night, and if someone is going to go out during the ban months in these areas, how do you circumvent the regulation concerning licenses to penalize the person with the proposed regulation by taking their license away? It doesn't make sense that someone can lose a hunting license for shooting an animal that the law doesn't require a person to have in the first place. And I suspect this would be challenged if such a scenario played out. Current laws place big game animals as having more worth than unprotected animals, and trying to lump a single one-size-fits-all penalty on this matter does not align with the laws we already have. I would respectfully request the committee to stop the current proposal and just work with what we already have to address this issue. That's my scripted response. Let me respond to that video. I think that video hits the nail on the head on what I've been saying all along. It's a law enforcement issue. OSP clearly set up a sting, put in the resources, used the equipment that they needed to catch these guys. This is a problem that is on the big game hunting side, not the predator side. And what I would like to see the Nevada Department of Wildlife do is exactly what OSP did. Just go after the people that are violating the law, just like they did in that video. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Cody?
Cody Knight for the record. So we need to keep thermal use the way that it is. You know, if we take this tool away, it's going to be, local hunters are going to lose out on the most effective way to manage coyotes. And like George said, right now we're spending a ton of money on predator control. Project 47 was a very expensive cost for what we got. And if we look at what these sportsmen are doing, you know, they could be out there and get 16 coyotes easily in the evening. So I don't understand why we would take that away from them. I do understand what Jake is bringing up with these concerns, but we also have to look at what we're paying for predator management. And coyotes are often overlooked, and that's a big part of fawn loss. And if these thermals go away, coyote numbers go up, deer numbers are going to go down. And then, of course, we'll blame the shifts back on the lions. And it is common sense to let these guys keep using these because it does help with predator control. Thanks.
All right, Bryce.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right. Greetings, Chairman and Commissioners. Bryce Green for the record. I'll try to make my statement short and succinct to kind of lay the groundwork for where I want to go with this today. And for my response to what's being proposed today, let me back up. I attended in person the commission meeting hosted in Las Vegas on September 27th. That was a Saturday. Action item 23A was titled, quote, Commission General Regulation 515 demerit points associated with trail cameras and thermal imaging devices, end quote. On that day, a vote successfully passed to increase demerit points to 12 if someone is caught using thermals to pursue big game. Right before this vote, I spoke during that public comment, and I stated, quote, the Nevada Predator Hunters Association has made their stance clear on this, and I can speak for pretty much all predator hunters when I say we support this under the precondition that this is exclusive to big game and the species that are already currently illegal to hunt or pursue with thermal, end quote. George Forbush then came along for public comment and also said, quote, we will not support this if it's used against predator hunters, end quote. After this, the commission voted unanimously to pass this, and I had multiple private conversations with a game warden and multiple commissioners who said something along the lines of, don't worry, this is exclusive to big game. And so here we are today in the subcommittee voting to pass a law to ban even the possession of a thermal during a specific time and in specific areas. And my question is this: how do you plan to charge the transgressors? You have two options, the way I see it. Either you, A, go against your word and use the General Regulation 515 to charge anyone caught in the possession of a thermal in these units with 12 demerit points, which the Nevada Predator Hunters Association said we would not support and which the commission said wouldn't happen. Or option B, you establish a system where folks with thermals in these areas are charged differing amounts of demerits depending on how they were using the thermals. But there's a problem with that. That implies that you can tell the difference between someone using thermals to hunt big game and using thermals to hunt coyotes, which is what you've been claiming you can't do all along. If this were the case, it would completely negate the need for any of this in the first place. And so once again, your options are to either go against your word and use the 12 demerit points against the predator hunters who supported you in passing General Regulation 515, or contradict what you've been saying all along about not being able to tell who's hunting what with thermal and establish differing punishments based on what someone is thought to be hunting. To me, it seems that you've put yourselves, the department has put themselves, based on previous statements and actions, into quite the catch-22. It is unbelievably intricate. It's contradictory, it's unenforceable, and frankly, it's dishonest. And so this leaves me, in closing, saying what everyone else has said, or what everyone else will say, which is pretty much that we have passed the 12 demerit punishment. It was passed with the assurance that it wouldn't be used against
Thank you, Bryce. Any additional public comment? Dylan. Go ahead, Dylan. You can, there you go.
All right. Hey, yeah, Dylan Clough, just a Nevada sportsman. If you guys, in my opinion, really cared about the animals, the law would state the whole state, not just those certain units. It's all the deer and the elk throughout the whole state, not just those units that really matter. So I stand with what everybody else is saying. You know, you guys are after a certain group of people, and increasing these laws is only going to make the legal hobbyists, follow those laws and not those people that are already breaking it. That's all I have.
All right. Any additional public comment? Please get your hand up now. Go ahead, Steve.
It's Steve Phillips. I'm just a hunter here in Nevada. Listening to all this, it seems to sound a lot to me like the gun control stuff and the lobbying for gun control. I don't think that my rights should be affected to hunt coyotes at night with thermal just because there's a few bad apples out there. So I stand with everybody else and I agree. I don't think that this is a good law. I do agree that there needs to be a more effective way to manage for thermal use with big game animals, but I don't think that this is it. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee for committee discussion. And then Jennifer, do you mind dropping all the commenters out of the main screen here so we got a better view of the committee? I think you can drop them out. We typically do. Kick them back to the spectator side of Zoom. If not, it's fine. I guess any thoughts or comments from the committee members? Commissioner Bourne.
Yes, I was wondering how many people have actually been stopped this year for suspected use of thermals in the state. Do we have that information?
I do not have that offhand. I know that we have had quite a couple cases for sure earlier this year, earlier in the hunting season. But I do not have those numbers offhand. I can't go thank for it either.
Additional thoughts or comments from committee members? I know this is a contentious one. Nobody likes to talk. I know the one thing, and it just kind of bugs me that everybody acts like by getting rid of the thermals, we can't hunt predators. And the thermals they are an emergent technology. They're a new technology. And you cannot tell me prior to that technology that the sportsmen and sportswomen did not kill predators, because they did. And they were effective at it with the tools they had at the time. And the same reason that they're so effective now, killing coyotes with thermals, is the same reason that it's obviously a concern. You know, you cannot sit here and tell me that we weren't effective previously with the tools we had at the time, the tools that would still be available. Just wouldn't be as easy, right? That's really what it boils down to. So,
yeah,
Commissioner Rogers.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. No, I would just echo that same sentiment. I mean, I'm supportive of this. I think that it is definitely an issue. I think it's a problem that we've got to address. There's multiple pieces of this puzzle. The demerits is one of the pieces of that puzzle, which we obviously had talked about in the past. You know, these things, these violators. There have to be some teeth there. But, you know, having these laws specific in some of these areas, I think only serves to help some of the problem. And to your point, Mr. Chair, it's not prohibiting anybody from taking coyotes and using thermals in other areas, just a select group of areas that they're unable to use that equipment. So I'm supportive of this. I think it's again, I think it's a problem. It's going to continue to be a bigger problem if we don't stay on top of this and address it. So anyway, I'm supportive of what we've heard today.
I guess I'll give my 2 cents worth. I want to see, you know, we're on the cusp of passing the 12 demerit points for the use of thermals. I want to see what happens and how that affects the use of thermals in the state. I want to give it a little bit of time to see where we go after that is put into effect. The other part of this equation that I'm a true believer in, and I've stated it before, is we can pass this law today, but the facts are we don't have enough in law enforcement to enforce the law. And somewhere down the line, we've got to get on board with that and get more law enforcement. Right now, I believe we have 3, maybe 4, is all the enforcement we have in this part of the state. So one thing that was mentioned by Minister Forbush was give our wardens drones. You could sit right there at the Forks in Cave Valley with a drone right now if you were a game warden, and you could patrol for 5 miles and cover 4 roads in and out of that valley and never leave. I think there are other avenues. I'm not saying in the future I won't be for this if it doesn't work. I just want to see us give every other chance before we pass another law.
Chairman, kind of where I'm at on this, you know, first, obviously, appreciate all the effort on the stakeholders and everyone that's got involved on this conversation. It's a difficult topic. I believe a lot of us are in the same boat on this, but there's just the unfortunate circumstance of how to actually implement this regulation. So it's not being used for big game, as that's the main focus here, although it is having an impact on these specific units. I think after multiple meetings on this and detailed conversations and several amendments to the initial kind of a restricting down to only a couple units and restricting down to only, you know, I believe it's 4 months. I'm good, at least as to the committee. With that being said, obviously at one point, if it does come out of this committee and go to the commission, I still want to continue the conversations because it's still a very difficult decision to make ultimately because it is having a negative impact on some industries and some individuals on the state. So with that, that's kind of where I'm at. I felt like it's been vetted in this committee thoroughly, but I'm there right now, but want to continue the conversations.
Yeah, and just to kind of follow, we've been talking about this for a few meetings now, but you know, part of why the discussion started to add it to the flat out thermal ban was to enable the additional enforcement, right? You don't have the loophole that, you know, I was out here, that's the whole thing. This gets rid of the loophole that, hey, I was out here predator hunting, I wasn't looking for big game, right? That's the loophole. And that loophole discussion came right from the law enforcement side of the department. So kind of where I'm at, you know, on this is we do have a limited amount of wardens. I'd like to add every toolbox that the wardens could have in their toolbox, and this adds a major tool in that toolbox for the enforcement side of it. Just flat out, you cannot have thermals during the big game season. You get rid of that loophole. So that's kind of where I'm at. And the concern I have is if we kick the can down the road, more people are going to get the thermals. The thermals are going to get better. The thermals are going to get cheaper. And it's like, it's kind of where my head's at. Do you address it now or do you wait and address it when you potentially have a bigger problem? And more people get used to using the thermals. for predator hunting, right? That's my concern. This is an emergent technology that's going to get better. There's no question about it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't have a problem with the language we proposed today. You know, we've kicked it around the committee enough. I don't have a problem kicking it up to the commission level again and seeing what kind of discussion we can have there. So, but I guess with that, if there's no further committee discussion, I mean, I can make a motion. I don't have a problem. I don't see anybody. All right, I'm going to make a motion to approve. I'm going to make a motion to forward the proposed language provided to the committee today as presented to a future workshop at the commission level.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, motion carries 3-1. All right, with that, we will go to agenda item number 8, range finding devices. Game Warden Captain Jake Kramer for possible action, a presentation on automatic range finding scopes for archery and rifle.
Okay, you guys have that full presentation?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, so this is on Smart Scope draft language. At your direction, draft language to prohibit rifle scopes and archery sights that have the capability of automatically adjusting an aim point within the scope or sight. So that was the fine point of this new draft language. So I put it in NAC 503-145. What's in white type here is existing language. So I'll skip that and go directly to alterations in subsection 2 and a new subsection 3. And I'll start from 2. It is unlawful for a person to hunt a big game mammal, or a game bird with a weapon that is equipped with a sight that is capable of casting or projecting a beam of light that is visible to the unaided human eye for the sight from the sight to the animal. That's existing language. New language is this: with any firearm, any bow or crossbow that is equipped with an electronic sight which is capable of receiving data from any internal or external source that aids in the automatic adjustment of the sight reticle or aiming point. And then we had to, I felt we needed to also then define what a sight or a scope is, because there's some different language within NAC. So that's what subsection 3 does. For the purpose of this section, a sight is any device attached to a firearm, bow or crossbow, which may be used to assist in precise visual alignment of the weapon. This definition includes both magnified and non-magnified sighting systems or scopes. I'll leave that up there. Any questions?
All right, any questions from the committee? Doesn't look like any. All right, with that.
Tell me, would you like me to stop sharing my screen?
Anybody, you guys want to still look at that, or do you want? Are we good? I think we're good, Jake. Let's go out to public comment. Any public comment specific to the sites? I don't see any. With that, I'll bring it back to the committee for further discussion or thoughts.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just had I had one question. I was trying to look at the presentation material there on the screen, and that is it just those scopes, as an example, rifle scopes that with a battery that are projecting actual yardages that we're talking about? Or, I mean, I know there are some scopes that have a battery that just will illuminate a crosshair, if you will, or a dot, but there's no yardages or there's no calculations or anything like that. Would those type of scopes be inclusive in this language?
Thank you for the question. Actually, this was limited at your direction to only limit scopes that automatically adjust the reticle. So then any scope that received data and it had a window or other information that you could see within the scope, such as the holdover, wind, whatever it might else be, that would still be okay. It's just the stopping point or the point of which the reticle automatically adjusts within that scope for the shot. So you would still be able to receive data from a Kestrel unit, from a rangefinder, anything like that, Bluetooth capabilities. But the hunter or shooter would just have to dial the turret manually.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, that's fine. And then if I could, just a follow-up question, and forgive me if we've touched on this in previous meetings, but just curious if there are other states currently that have any regulation in place on these particular items.
There are, yes. If you'd like, I can open up the last presentation and kind of look at that if you'd like.
If it's not too much trouble and relatively easy, I'd just be curious again as a refresher for me.
Give me a moment, if you will. What are you able to see right now?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So this is the table that was on the first presentation on the last meeting that we had. And these are the states, western states that I surveyed. Laws prohibiting the use of a smart scope, laws prohibiting archery sites, smart sites, and then laws prohibiting mapping and rangefinders. That's kind of a non-issue. But yes, there's looks like Colorado, their regulation's a little odd. It's all down here. Oregon, Utah, all have prohibitions against smart scope technology for rifles, and as well for including Washington now for archery sites.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Warren.
Sorry, could you, Mr. Kramer, could you please scroll down on that to the language that the other states have real quick, please? Sorry, I wasn't quick enough.
All right, sorry about that. I was on mute. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay. Colorado's a little bit different. I have a yes or no up here because of their definition of what a smart scope is. If I remember, they called it a ballistic computer, and which it will conduct ballistic calculations. The difference for them was very, very minute. They haven't quite got that one figured out yet. Let me see if I've got there's more to it here. Let me see if I have more state definitions. I don't. I believe I've got those in a file somewhere though that I can provide for you if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, I thought I remembered seeing the regulations from different states in this presentation.
Let me, tell you what, let me pop off this real quick and I will take a look in my file again and see if I can look for that. I'm not seeing it. So
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
if I do have it, I'll get it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess kind of where I'm at, this is one of the ones that's kind of where what generated this committee when we started the Emergent Technologies Committees, like where do we want to draw the lines on the technology? And this is another one. It's starting to come out. It's starting to get more prevalent, and there's going to be other manufacturers that offer it. And for me personally, it takes the effort out of it. You know, they've got the rifle scopes now. You could have an individual laying on the gun, and you can have an individual sitting over their shoulder, range finding. You know, say you miss the first shot, that elk runs 100 yards, the person over their shoulder can range it, and that scope's automatically adjusting. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's just, you know, with the old school way, you still got a little effort in there dialing the scope and doing that. But this way, it's just where do we want to draw the line of technology? The archery scope, the archery sights, there's one of them out there. You press the button on the sight and it's adjusting it in real time while you could have your bow drawn and it's adjusting in real time. And to me, it's just, where do we want to draw the line? And that was kind of why this committee was created, was for issues like this. And again, this is an emergent technology that's only going to increase in prevalence in the field. So do you draw the line now? Do you wait when more people have it in their hands? For me, I like Jake's language. I think it's pretty simple language, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't know if we want to bring it back maybe to one more committee meeting. We didn't really have that language ahead of time. We just looked at it here during the meeting. We could bring it back one more time to look at and have that language in the data provided maybe. But I see where you guys are at with it as well.
Yes, Commissioner Caviglia, I totally agree with everything that you've said. My only concern is that we make sure the language can see into the future as best we can for anything that might be coming our way with scopes down the road. And I don't know if we can do that or not, but hopefully we can with the language we have.
Yeah, Chair Caviglia. Yeah, I've reviewed obviously for the first time with Captain Kramer's language. I'm pretty comfortable based on the first meeting, and then we've kind of narrowed it into what we did today. I do agree with you, Commissioner Caviglia. Potentially have one more meeting to kind of get it back out there in the committee before, if there is the majority of the committee, get it up to the commission, but maybe give just people a little more time to look at it, as this is kind of the first time we've seen what is exactly going to do, and maybe look at the actual language. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, same here. Given the fact that it's kind of a first brush and look at some of this stuff, I think I'm supportive of bringing it back to the committee for one more time to take a look at it and maybe hear from some other folks on it. But to your point, yeah, I agree. This is exactly the type of thing that brought on this committee, that starts to blur that line of fair chase and the different technologies that are coming out. So anyway, so I'm supportive of this. I think it makes sense. I'm also glad to see some other states have taken the lead on this and have recognized that it's an issue. and have put some regulation in place around it as well. So anyway, so again, I'm supportive of it and bringing it back to the committee for another look.
All right, thank you. So I don't think we need to take a motion. What we'll do, Jake, is we'll plan on bringing this back to the next Emerging Technologies Committee, and then we can provide that language ahead of time as backup. So obviously committee members can absorb it a little more, but then the public can get a little more input on it as well.
Question, do you have any direction that you need me to do between now and that next meeting for this?
I personally don't at this time. Just looking at that real quick, the language looked relatively simple to me. I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts on it, or doesn't look like it. Let's just go with that for now, Jake. Let's just provide that as backup information for the next meeting so we can look at it ahead of time. All right, with that, we'll close agenda item number 8. We will go to agenda item number 9. Future committee meetings and agenda items for possible action. The committee will take action to determine future committee agenda items, meeting dates, times, and locations. And kind of like always, I'd like to ask that you guys give me some leeway to work with the department. We'll figure out the schedule of that meeting around the January commission meetings. And then we'll have the range finding devices discussion for sure. And then I'm just curious if there's any other items any committee members at this time want to potentially look at in regards to emergent technologies. Okay, I don't see any. This is an action item, so I'll take it out for public comment. Any public comment on the future committee meeting? All right, seeing none. I don't believe we need to take action, a formal vote on that as well. So we will go to agenda item number 10, public comment period, informational. Persons wishing to speak are requested to sign in. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the committee at this time. However, the committee may consider items brought up to be scheduled on a future committee agenda. So any general public comment? I don't see any. So, all right, with that, we are adjourned, and I'll see everybody Friday. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.